Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the Canby City Council regular meeting for July 16th, 2014. We're actually reconvening our meeting since we started at 5 o'clock this evening to do some important city business, which I'll get to shortly. So if we'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We all stay standing for a moment of silence, please, for our men and women in service. Thank you. All right, so as I stated earlier, we had started early today. We had an executive session to discuss our city manager search. So we've spent the first couple hours this evening reviewing the candidates that have applied and whatnot. So we'll be finalizing some of those pieces here shortly. And so right now I'll just make the announcement that on Tuesday, July 29th this month from 7 to 8:30, we'll be hosting a social reception for our top finalists for the city administrator position. So if you're interested in meeting who those candidates are, it'll be at the community room in the Canby Police Department located out on Northwest 3rd. So put it on your calendar and please come on out and meet our candidates. And so your input will be greatly appreciated. First up on the agenda, communications. Who made this out for the evening? Anything for Joe or Kim? No? Okay. First opportunity for citizen input this evening, and I've got a couple of yellow cards. First, we have Lee and Kim Wingen up to discuss God. Lee. And Kim, I should say, too.
That's exactly right. Today is my 2-month anniversary. I've officially been married to this young lady for 2 months today. You can applaud. That's good.
You're a lucky man.
I am.
You got the luckier part of this.
I think I did. And she's handing out some cards to you. You might be familiar with them. We at First Baptist here believe God's command to us to pray for those that have the rule of authority over us. And we do it for selfish reasons. God says that it will go well for us. So we selfishly pray for you every Tuesday. On the back of your card, it shows every time we prayed for you for the last number of years, and we send postcards and et cetera, et cetera. And we just really appreciate you guys a whole bunch for what we do. We know you don't do this for the big bucks. You do this for the love of our community. And we really appreciate all that you do. And so regularly we come and we ask you to fill out a card again. And so put your name at the top of that and things that we can pray praying specifically for you. And I want to encourage our mayor to make sure he gets his in this time, since we took us a few months to get yours.
It did, but you guys made up for lost time.
We did make up for lost time. And then if you'll give them to your recorder, I'll come by the office in the next day or two and pick them up from her. But we firmly believe that God answers prayer. We had someone Sunday morning that prayed Saturday night that it would rain on Sunday. Do you remember what the weather report was for Sunday?
It was supposed to be.
What happened Sunday morning during church? So we all became believers again that when we pray, God works. And so we want to pray for you intelligently. And again, we really appreciate all that you do. And if you ever get bored and don't have anything else to do and you want to reverse the street maintenance fee for churches, we love that too.
Well played, sir.
Very good.
But no pressure whatsoever. We just really appreciate your hard work. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, Lee, I want to say thank you. Since I came on the council a couple of years back, and this has been one of the things I truly appreciate immensely, is the passing out of these cards, to know that at least every Tuesday there's a group of us that are praying for hopefully what's on the card and not for other things. But I do appreciate it. It is an important piece to our community, and I do know that it means a lot to a number of the people on the council. So we really appreciate what you and your church do. So thank you.
Good. Well, we know you have to make some tough decisions, and we want you to be very wise. in making decisions. So again, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I also want to add my thanks, and it's an impressive list of dates that you've got on the back of it, and I'll leave it up to the audience and my counselors on whether these prayers were answered, that I wanted to request community harmony and grace among elected officials. So we'll see. We'll let someone else be the judge of whether that succeeded or not.
Well, according to the paper, it seems like there's a little bit more harmony recently, so that's a very good thing.
Oh, good work, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And ladies.
Thanks, Lee.
Next to talk to us is Mr. Rick Anderson. Talk to us about the chamber.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to come and introduce myself to the city leadership. And as many of you know, I've been in the position for about 30 days now, and happy to be here. Really excited to be back in Canby, and look forward to working with our city and our city officials and helping Canby businesses. And so I just thought it would be nice to come down and introduce myself to you. Obviously, I'm happy to meet with any of you, and have had an opportunity to spend a little time with the mayor and enjoyed that. And so, yeah, it's just good to be here, and I wanted to introduce myself.
We're glad you're here. Thank you very much, Rick.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, Rick's definitely came in and jumped in with both feet, and has been already out with Renata and visiting businesses and trying to get to know the community leadership in that regard. So I really appreciate coming in and jumping in and really trying to get that get a face with the name and the position. So I think there's going to be great things that'll go on with the chamber. So thank you for taking the role, and looking forward to seeing what occurs.
Yeah, and you know, as a representative for Canby business, we want to be collaborative with our city government, and so if I can ever be of help to our city leaders, please look to me. I'm here, and I'm just across the street, more or less. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The other card is for a little bit later, which we'll call it for that there. And though he's not come up to the podium, for those of you in the viewing audience, I don't know if cameras can pick up our new fire chief sitting in the back row. I'd like to congratulate Chief Davis on his new position, and thanks for coming and hanging out. Did you want to? You're good. A man behind the scenes. All right. Well, thank you, sir. So moving into mayor's business, a couple of things. Like I said, we've got narrowing down things on the city manager search, which we're very, very excited about filling that role. I want to give a big thank you to the General Canby Day team for a great General Canby Day and 4th of July event. Another tremendous turnout. Ran into people from Tigard and Gresham and Eugene and Vancouver, so definitely a draw from the greater area, so it was great. And also a big thank you to the Canby Historical Society for their pancake breakfast. I think they had another banner turnout for their breakfast, so great event. And I think we'll have Lila or somebody from General Canby Days, hopefully next meeting, to give us an update. We'll just subtly put that recommendation out there. The other tidbit, in the last couple of weeks, myself and a couple of the city councilors attended the Westland City Street Fair that they held, I think it was last Friday. So that was organized by a couple of business owners here downtown in the Canby area. So we went up to kind of take that in and see what they've been doing and how that's been working out. And I know that we'll probably get together and compare notes and debrief, but it was a great turnout, live music, tons of vendors. There's a couple of thousand people that turned out for the event, so for their 6th year of doing it, it seemed to be a really great event. So stay tuned for more of that and more conversation to come. That concludes my reports or any business for right now. We're going to do councilor comments and liaison reports, and we're actually going to start down here with Councilor Ryder, and we'll work the other way around tonight.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, as liaison to the Planning Commission, I'm going to defer to our director, Mr. Brown, and he's going to be making a report later. But also as liaison to the Canby Area Transit, at their last meeting in June, they discussed the funding issues. They received or executed 3 grants totaling $647,905 from their Special Transportation Fund, Special Transportation Operating Funds, and Rural and Small City 513 or 5311 funding. So they've really done some real good work on working at applying for those grants. And our ridership, fiscal year 2013-14, unfortunately is down 18%, but it seems to have leveled off from a high of 12,556 in 2011-12 monthly riders to 8,806, and hopefully it's not going to drop much below that. They're still trying to solve their nightly secure parking for all their transit vehicles. And we are trying to help them in that, figure out what they can do to find a place where they can put all the vehicles in one place. The Rider of the Month for June was Peggy Mendenhall, and she receives a free pass.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, my liaison duties have been on summer vacation. Bike Ped Committee has taken the month off, and Historic Review has been off, and our Main Street manager is back this week. So she's getting back in gear for upcoming Main Street activities. So I also attended the Westland Street Fair, and perhaps the most exciting part about that is that one of the people who was responsible for putting together this successful Westland Street Fair is now a Canby businessman, and he is willing to use his expertise, his money, to help organize this. So that is the type of community leadership that we're glad to have, and Rick, I hope you're going to be helping us gather that community steam and effort as well, because the more that we can bring people down here, the more we can monetize our downtown, and we can have a livability through prosperity.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I likewise attended the General Canby Days festivities and marched in the parade along with the Disney characters. That was it was good to be upstaged. They were fantastic, and we'll let Todd talk more about them. On the Canby utility front, backflow testing for residential irrigation systems is coming to Canby. You'll be seeing more about that in future editions of the Reporter from Canby Utility and flyers. And congratulations to Canby Utility on their reliability statistics for the last quarter. On all but one, they greatly exceeded the national averages. And so thank you, Canby Utility. Thank you, Bob, for delivering this great, safe, clean, and cheap power.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Mayor, I attended a City of Canby ethics class hosted by the city at the police department. I attended the General Canby Days, and my wife and I have been coming down to that for over 10 years, but I've never participated until this year in the parade, and you don't realize the number of people that actually come down until you're actually in the parade, but that was a lot of fun. As a liaison to the library, I attended the library board meeting. They recognized John Drott for his many years of service as a library board chair. They welcomed John Smith as a new board member, and they nominated Roger Reif to the new library board chairman position. I also attended the liaison to the Traffic Safety Commission, and we met normally we meet on the first Friday of every month at the Public Works Conference Room, but this time we met at the Burgerville this past Friday to look at the sidewalk issue across from the high school, and I couldn't be more proud of our group. There's 14 this last time. Our Public Works, our planning director came down, our police officers come down, and we looked at that because we've heard a lot of comments from the high school that that's a real safety issue for students to cross over behind the muffler shop and the veterinary clinic and the car wash and the Taco Bell. There's no sidewalk and safe crosswalk. So we looked at that. We voted on it as a group that should be a top priority. I'm just very, very impressed with that group. Also, there will be a special meeting this Friday for the traffic safety from 8:30 to 10. That'll be at the Public Works Conference Room to discuss the effectiveness of various signage. As the Sequoia Bridge opened up, they incorporated some new signage on 13th, so they're going to be able to, take a look at what signage is actually working and what hasn't been as effective. And so public is welcome to come to that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilor Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I likewise don't have a liaison report as C4 and those school district, it's July, so I'll have those meetings starting up again in August. However, I did attend a number of community events since the last meeting. I went to, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now, to the Bridging Culture Saturday in the Park.
Right.
Always a great taco or carne asada, I'm telling you. They have some fantastic food. So Saturdays at Locust Street Park, isn't that the name of that park out there?
is,
I just drive there. And that is a great time, about 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So go get a taco and enjoy some good conversation with the neighbors. I also went to the ethics training and the police department, and then the next day went to Chief Coons' retirement / swearing in of Chief Davis. So welcome to Chief Davis, and I also wanted to tell you we have a $5 fine if your phone goes off. You just pay him. I heard that. Yeah, it could be a fire. Okay, if it's not a fire, there's a $5 fine. I missed the cleanup day, the Canby Livability Cleanup Day, and I hope I'm excused as I was up all night at the Relay for Life event. So I hope I'm excused for that, and I'll try and catch it next year. And in addition to the chamber lunch, I also went in the parade, getting upstaged by some princesses, but it was a fantastic time at General Canby Day with my family, and I think we needed the parade to walk off all those pancakes.
Oh, my goodness.
That is my report, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I, as you can tell, was in the General Canby Day Parade as well. The Disney princesses were my daughter and her drama friends, and they were pretty impressive. I remember us lining up before the parade started, and the Allegro Dance Studio girls came by and about mauled Cinderella, and they ended up singing Disney songs. It was pretty cool.
8 rounds of Let It Go.
Yeah. Parks and Rec, there's a public meeting on Dog Park, July 24th at 7 o'clock at the Canby Police Department. I'd like you to all show up to that. And Canby Fire, we all know Chief Davis is now here, and my contacts deep within the fire department are very excited about him being there. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. Moving to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the June 18th, 2014 City Council work session and regular meeting, and a change of ownership liquor license application for Rounders of Canby.
Great, thank you. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Motion's made by Councilor Dale and seconded by Councilor Rocha to approve the consent agenda, which include the adoption of the minutes of the June 18th, 2014 City Council work session and regular meeting, and a change of ownership liquor license application for Rounders here in Canby. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries 6-0. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Do we have an extension? Okay, sorry. 501, please. Thank you. All right, move into our first public hearing this evening. I'm pretty sure, Kim, I can get away with reading this once this evening.
I'll let you.
These are type 4. I think this is, I'm going to say yes.
Okay. All right, so we have 3 of them this evening. I'm going to read this, and I'll recap when we get to each section this evening in terms of reminders of how the flow will go. So right before us is a public hearing, so I'll read the format for tonight. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on this matter, please fill out a yellow comment card, like these, and give them to the city recorder, which is Kim there on the end. At the appropriate time, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and interest in the matter. Those people that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands tonight. And so the first one this evening is annexation 14-01/ZC 14-01. It's, I believe, Franz and Vicar. Anyone wishing to speak on that tonight? No? Okay.
In the back.
In the back. Thank you, sir. And then the second one is the annexation 14-02/ZC 14-02, the Stoller, Rice, Boyle, Markham, and Netter. Anyone wishing to speak on that tonight? Okay. And then finally is the TA 14, so text amendment 14-01, industrial zone chapters of Title 16 of the Canby Municipal Code is the other public hearing, and one for that. Thank you very much. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions must be directed through the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. We will get a staff report, questions, if any, by the hearing body or by staff. We will open the public hearing for testimony. We will hear from the proponents, so those that are for it, for not more than 3 minutes each. Opponents, so those not for it, for also not more than 3 minutes. We will close the public testimony. Questions, if any, by the hearing body. Discussion by the hearing body. And then a decision will be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Anyone have any questions about the proceedings over the next couple? Okay. So the first one this evening, staff report-wise, we'll turn over to Angie. I'm sorry.
Can we stop you really quickly?
Yes.
too? We have located also, and perhaps an error didn't provide to you, the annexation
It's-
hearing procedure,
There's a separate one in your manual.
so that'll cover all of them, for sure.
All right. Shall I read the annexation one this evening? Perfect. Wonderful. So I will read the annexation hearing procedure for our first two items this evening. I apologize for that. So the matter before the city council is a request to annex property into the city of Canby. Canby Municipal Code Section 16.84.050 requires the council to conduct a public hearing to evaluate the proposed annexation application and determine the appropriate zoning designation upon annexation. This matter requires a public hearing of all interested persons in attendance, and all interested parties in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on this application at the appropriate time, please step forward to the microphone, state your name, address, and interest in the matter. We've already, those people that are interested, we're aware of, so thank you. You may be limited to time for your presentation. The applicant will have a time of 15 minutes to speak. The proponents will be allowed 3 minutes each, and the opponents will be allowed 3 minutes each. The applicant will then have 15 minutes for rebuttal. Testimony and evidence shall be directed to the applicant. Applicable criteria listed on the wall. Which,
Old script.
it's an old script. Okay, thank you.
Oh, my.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. Or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or land use regulations which you believe applies to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. All questions will be directed through me, the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. Conflict of interest. At this time, I would ask that any member of the hearing body who has a conflict of interest, please indicate the nature and the extent of the conflict and whether you intend to participate or abstain from hearing the present matter. No? Conflict?
No conflict, I'll participate.
Councilor Coleman, conflict?
No conflict. No conflict, I'll participate.
No conflict, I'll participate.
And Councilor Ryder, any conflict at all?
No,
All
I'll
right.
participate.
Ex parte contact, also if any member of the hearing body has had any ex parte contact with anyone prior to this hearing, including a visit to the site, please declare the nature and extent of such contact at this time.
None.
None.
None, sir.
None.
And the extent of mine is, it's near my house, so I drive by it frequently. That's my ex parte contact. Does any member of the audience have any questions for the council or the mayor regarding ex parte contact or conflict of interest? Okay. Now, Mr. City Attorney, are we good to go?
We are.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
turn it over to Angie for our first presentation here.
Good evening. For those in the audience that have not met, I'm Angie Larrett, the Associate Planner. Tonight I'll be going over annexation zone change 1401. This proposed annexation is there's a map of it here on the PowerPoint. I believe it's 1536 North Pine. Don't have the exact address, sorry, but the proposed property is this property right here that's I'm pointing at. The applicants propose annexation of 0.15 acres of street right-of-way, North Pine Street right-of-way, so half street of Pine, plus the 4.47 acres of property. The proposed zoning is R1 low density, and this is in conformance with the adopted comprehensive plan designation. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this application. Final approval, council approval is needed for annexation and zone change applications. If council approves, it'll go to submitted to the electorate for the November election, and then if ballot measure passes, council will pass a resolution accepting the annexation. The annexation in theory would allow the development of about approximately 19 single-family, 18 to 19 lots, single-family residences, on this, as shown on this submitted conceptual plan. A traffic study was done, no significant issues were raised. Neighborhood meeting was held. Primary concern expressed at the meeting was a desire to not have the land be developed into apartments, which is not possible if it's going to be zoned R1. For this property, the code requires the recordation of a development agreement as a covenant running with the land upon approval. So there is a draft development agreement in your packet, and if council approves tonight, they will approve the development agreement at your next meeting. This development agreement basically states that 16th Avenue and North and Plum Court will be extended, and this is also in accordance with our street connectivity standards in the code. So the street layout is a major design aspect of it, so that's why that is in the development agreement. It addresses provision of public facilities, and it does state that this plan here is conceptual. After it's annexed in and proposed to be subdivided, then it would go through the subdivision process, and all exact lot sizes and street right-of-ways, cross-sections, sidewalk design, etc., would be determined at the subdivision stage. So the development agreement, draft development agreement also states that. Half-street improvements will be required on Pine, and Pine is in county, this portion of Pine is in county jurisdictions, so will probably be subject to county standards when when subdivision happens. there's a comment, there's some citizen comments, and a pathway connection to the logging road was discussed at the pre-application meeting and in the neighborhood meeting and in written comments. Our code does have a provision that states about at every 300 feet, there should be a connection and a subdivision to the logging road trail, which is here. There's an existing connection here, so it'll be a discretionary decision at the planning commission stage, the subdivision stage, and a discretionary decision by the planning commission whether to require an additional pathway to the logging road, since there's already an existing one to the south of the property right here. So there's differing opinions whether it's needed or not, but that's something to be decided at the subdivision stage. Pre-application meeting and requests for comments from utility agencies did not raise any concerns on service capacities. One of our codes were annexation requirements, which the applicant has a chart, which I'll let him go through in more detail, but one of our code's requirement upon annexation is to analyze the need for additional land in the city, and it says that a 3-year supply of land within the same zoning class proposed to be annexed should be available, and if it's not, then annexation is justified. So this is something that's kind of hard to analyze. We provided the applicant with some building permit data based that we have according to applicants and city data, the current number of platted lots in the city at this time, or at the time of the application of this annexation, which was in February, is about a year, based on 40 building permits per year. But this assumption of 40 building permits per year is pulled down by recession numbers. It's an average of like the last 5 years. So we probably need more than that. And the other side of the coin is there's probably going to be more, there's some subdivisions that are pending soon, so we'll have some more available platted lots soon as well. So, but staff feels the applicant justified their request, and you know, it's an inexact evaluation, but and he will go over that in more depth if you have any more questions about that. But we do not have very many platted lots in city limits at this moment. So other than that, staff accepts their response to the code and comprehensive plan criteria in their application, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Angie. So going back to, I have 2 questions. The logging road connection piece that's in the neighborhood here. Let's see if I can figure out how to use my, there we go. There we go. This one is right here.
Yes.
So are we looking at putting in 2 in this area or 1?
1. The applicant had originally proposed actually putting 1 in their conceptual plan.
Okay.
At the pre-application, and I think there's some concern over maintenance issues, to why some wouldn't want it, or so I think it's just been, it's not a topic that's been concretely decided on.
Okay, so it's more of a mixed response to yes or no on putting that in this
Right,
development.
I don't think the applicant has any objections
Okay.
to doing it, but
Okay, my next question, can you go back to the slide that's got the plotted housing? That one.
this one?
So, are you saying, so, because the way I understand it, right, so Pine, most of Pine is county road. And this stretch here, find my picture. So, my understanding then, if, once this development goes in, this part of the road will be annexed in and will meet city code, not county code.
It will be annexed in, and then at the time of subdivision and public improvement developments, then half-street improvements would have to be coordinated to city and county standards.
Okay.
If we haven't received any comments from the county on this, so I guess it's kind of unsure whose standards would apply at the time of half-street improvements.
No, and because I know
But,
that
you know,
most
if
of
we
Pine
go
is-
by, I'm sorry,
Sorry, no, go ahead.
if we go by who owns the road, county standards probably should apply, but
So we annex it in, and we get it, and we override county, so we,
Well, but is the road
Hopefully.
being annexed in, or just up to
well,
the...
that's what I guess I'm asking, because we've got Pine and parts of Redwood that kind of seem to teeter as you drive down those roads. What's county road? I mean, it's a distinctive between county road and city road. It's been kind of the argument, my argument to Clackamas County on how
Yeah.
well they don't take care of their county roads within our city.
and I think the idea is to eventually, the county, again, I don't think this is set in stone, but the county eventually wants to give up Pine, so,
And I'm encouraging that they figure out how to help make that happen.
Yeah.
So, okay,
sorry,
just
I
want-
don't have a clear answer on
okay,
that.
I just want to try to understand, because I was always under that impression that when we do annex in and development does occur, that the developer would bring that up, and because it's, yeah, because these lots over here, according to page 14 of our packet, this area, like what would be over here, is still in county, so we would only be upgrading half the road.
Correct.
That's okay. All right, great, thank you. Any other questions? That was my question. Okay.
I have one. What would you estimate the size of these lots to be?
I believe they're range from,
7 to 13.
from about 7,000 to 9,000, 10,000 square feet.
Thank you.
I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Maybe for you and Brock. What is the best way for us to wrestle those roads away from the county and bring them under our maintenance?
Just keep beating up the BCC flag.
Can I field that one, Brian? That would be it has been a monstrous undertaking. Right now, as the conversation goes, county road funds are not up to snuff. They don't have it to build new ones, let alone maintain what they have. And so part of the argument is through when we can and those annexation pieces happen is the best way for us to get those updated and improved. And that's kind of what we're facing with an annexation like this. So there have been conversations with the Board of County Commissioners to make the investment within the city limits to either bring their roads up to our current standards so that we then can take them over. I think that is a long-term plan that they have, but that could be a while. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah.
You too.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'll
dogpile on that, Mr. Mayor. I think this would be worthy of a study session, because 15 years ago, when I worked for the county, that was the talking point, and I just think it is a road to nowhere, that I think that if we want the roads in our cities to be up to our standards, we're going to have to own it. We are getting some more street utility fees out of these places, and I don't think citizens make a distinction as they drive in our city about who owns the roads. I think it should be our responsibility, and I don't think if we just said to the commissioners, give us the deeds of the road and no money, I think they'd give us the road. So I think this is worthy of a study session.
Okay. I have made note of that. Okay. Any comments right now before we open it up? All right. So we will officially open up the public hearing portion of the testimony. So any proponents who would like to come up and address us that are in favor of this annexation?
Prior to
The applicant needs to talk.
The applicant needs to talk first.
Yes, on the public hearing procedure, it was the staff report of the applicant.
I apologize. Okay. So Angie, thank you. The applicant for this would like to come up? Thanks, Kim.
Well, the mayor needs to be given a break on this. We've gone several years without any annexation. So this is a welcome.
Out of practice.
This is a welcome change,
I
so.
don't think we had any in 13, so,
Yeah.
so, thank you, sir, I appreciate the
The
pass.
gratitude, the latitude there.
Good evening, Mayor
Good evening.
and City Council. I'm Pat Sissel, Sissel Engineering, 375 Portland Avenue, Gladstone, here tonight with two of the four applicants, Ray Franz and Connie Picker. Ray Franz and his brother grew up on this property, and it's been in the family for several decades. And they feel that the time is right to bring this property into the city. I just have to figure out how to...
One works and one doesn't.
All right, thank you, Angie. All right, so the property is located on the east side of Pine Street. The property to the south is already developed as a subdivision inside the city. The logging road trail is on the east side with developed subdivisions. The properties to the north are also in the city. This property directly to the north was annexed in, I think it was 2010, and a subdivision application has recently been submitted to the planning department for division of that property. So this property is the last parcel on the east side of North Pine that's not in the city of Canby. Let's see if I can, there we go. So the property is pretty open. This is the property that's already in the city. This is the piece we're looking at here. It's got one house in the southwest corner along Pine Street, a few trees around it. For the most part, you can see that the property's pretty wide open. Here's the subdivision to the south, and here is the access, the current access to the logging road trail. The property, this is the comprehensive plan. The site is here. It's low-density residential, as is the property to the north, and most of the parcels around it are all identified in the comp plan as low-density residential. There is some medium-density properties identified off to the northwest. This one is in the city. Many of these others are still outside the city. This is an apartment complex here and other high-density residential zoned land. And as Angie mentioned, the one thing we did hear at the neighborhood meeting was that the neighbors did not want this to be high-density zone property. It was a shock to them when the apartment complex came in on that piece, and they said, you know, that the one comment we have is, please build something that is fitting with the other subdivisions in the neighborhood. So what we're proposing is just to be consistent with the comp plan. The comp plan has identified this as low-density residential, and that's the proposal. Low-density residential lots would be basically 7,000 to 10,000 square foot in size. We did a analysis of the need, and we broke it down by subdivisions and minor partitions, and we went back and we tracked everything that had happened since. The city had a analysis that they were doing and kept it current through about 2006, 2007. And at that point, they kind of lost track of what was going on. There was a lot going on in the city in 2006, 2007, and then it all just stopped. So we went back and tracked every subdivision and every partition that had recorded in Canby from 2007 on, and worked with the building department, planning department, to find out of all of these developments how many lots were still remaining out there. And this application was submitted to the city in February, and as of February 21st, 2014, what we found was in the R1 lots, there were 33 lots remaining, platted buildable lots in the R1 zone. And in the R1.5, there were 7. So if you combine those two categories and say those are your single-family residential lots, that's a total of 40 lots available in February. And we know that there's been several taken down since February, so that 40 is now probably 30 or below. The city average is 45 lots per year, and that ranged from a high of 201 building permits issued in the year 2006 to a low of 4 building permits issued in 2009 and 2010. So quite the range. So at the average of 40 lots per year, which again at 45 lots per year, which extends over, I think that was an 10-year period. So that average could be really low for what we're seeing this year, what could be seen next year. But at the current rate of 45 per year, these 40 lots is about a 10.5-month supply. Keep in mind that this won't go to the voters if approved until November, and then a subdivision application couldn't come in probably until after the first of the year. And by the time it got to the Planning Commission, it would probably be spring. So then it takes time to build a subdivision. So first new homes in this subdivision would likely be sometime around the end of summer next year. And by that time, these 40 lots could be dwindled pretty low. Now, there are other subdivisions in process right now. We understand that. But obviously, some of those lots will be taken down too. So I think it's safe to say that the 3-year supply it's not there right now, and more lots are needed. Angie's already discussed this. I won't go over it in much detail. The subdivision will support 18 or 19 lots. Depends upon whether the existing house would remain. If it would remain, probably 18 lots is the most. If it would come down, then likely 19 lots. As far as the pathway to the logging road, I understand that is a subdivision question. We did originally propose an access way through here. At the pre-app meeting, it was discussed that since there is an access way already to the south here, this is the plat for that subdivision, and because the subdivision proposed to the north, this is this parcel we're talking about tonight, this is the general street layout for what the property to the north will look like. There will be an access way proposed here. Public Works staff felt that there wasn't a need for a third one right in this area, and maintenance of these is an issue because the city's got a lot of these little pathways, and they don't really want to spend a lot of money having to maintain them. If they felt this one wasn't necessary, this one was, because there will be utilities going through it. So that's the preferred, the one to the north is the preferred location. But again, that's something that we can make it fit if it's desired at the subdivision stage. As far as the lay of the land and available utilities, sanitary sewer is available in the logging road. This site is part of the North Redwood Storm Drain Advanced Financing District, so it will drain into a pipe system that's already in the logging road trail and then goes out Redwood Street. Water is available in Pine at this location at this location and a little bit farther north at this location. It's also available here. So when this comes in and gets developed, it'll help loop the water system through this area. Just to discuss real briefly the Pine Street situation. It is a county road. We will be annexing to center line of the right-of-way and bringing that into the city, but the road will still remain under county jurisdiction. From past annexations and past developments that we've done where the road is under county jurisdiction, what we usually see is that the county will make the road be rebuilt to center line. It'll be a full rebuild on our side of the street with curbs, sidewalks, the full urban section, and they'll likely make us build a full lane, one travel lane on the opposite side of the street, so that you'll have a road built to a half street plus a travel lane. And part of the reason for that is when North Pine, when the utilities go in, there's going to be sewer, there's going to be water, there's going to be storm. It's going to be dug up across both sides of the street. It won't survive. It's an inch of oil mat on top of a couple inches of rock. We've had the city public works department go out and look at it. So that's typically what we see is the county says, you're not just going to do a half street, you're going to do a half street plus a travel lane on the other side. So that's what I would expect. Anyway, again, this is the last remaining piece on the east side of Pine. We think that's in the county. We think it's time for it to come into the city. We think there's a need in the city for more lots, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have one question. So the plotted, the land to the north of what we're talking about here tonight, that's already been annexed into the city?
Yes, it has.
And when do we have an estimated thought of when that will start to be developed? About the same time, before, after?
A subdivision application has been submitted to the planning department for this. I don't know whether there'll be time for ground to break on it this fall, or whether it would be next spring. It hasn't been approved yet.
Sure.
So we need to keep that in mind too. But if approved, there's a small window that, it depends, I don't even know what planning commission hearing it's on yet. There's potential it could be developed this fall, or it could be next year.
Spring, summer. Okay. That was mine. Yes, Greg?
So is this what is known as a island annexation, where all the property around it has been annexed into the city except for this?
Well, it's part of a larger island, I believe. This area here, let's try to steady up my arm here a little bit. This area is also not annexed. So this is part of a bigger island, and so it'll shrink the county island down, but it won't eliminate an island.
Okay. And as an aside, I'd like a recommendation from our planning director on what he thinks about islands, or donuts, I think is another term for them in that. Also, in your professional experience here, when you've talked to neighborhood groups about this, how unusual is it to get a recommendation that an apartment not be built on adjacent property?
It's fairly common.
Okay.
we hear a lot of that. I mean, that's people's main concern is,
Do people ever say we wanted an apartment next to us?
I don't recall that ever happening, no.
Just trying to put this in context. It's been a while since we've done annexation, so you have to forgive me.
That's fine.
Great. Any other questions for the applicant at all? No. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we will hear from the proponents.
Hello, my name is Gordon Root with Stafford Land Company, and you know, I have a fondness here for Canby. I used to have my office here on 3rd and Fur for 3 or 4 years or more. Yeah, and I came to Canby. My company, Stafford Land Company. Do you need the address, or you've already got it there? Okay, I came to Canby originally because Canby's outside of Metro's jurisdictional boundary, where they make us develop at densities of 6.8 to 10 units an acre. And as luck would have it, my arrival in Canby to develop here, where I know that people come to live, work, and stay. Then we had a turn down or a series of voter annexations that weren't approved, and it was kind of tough to earn a residential developer living in Canby at that point in time. But since then, it's changed, and one of the things I really came to respect was the electorate in Canby kind of keeps the pace as to just right ahead of the curve of what's needed. So I would like to have you, I would encourage you to go ahead and ratify the Planning Commission recommendation that this be referred to the voters. Additionally, I am the applicant on the Beck property, which is a property just to the north that Pat had referred to. The schedule for the Beck property is ASAP. As soon as we submitted the application, we're going to go ahead and process that application through the planning commissions, and it would be great if we could get in this year, but maybe not. And one of the things that Canby's been blessed with is, deep sandy soil, that it doesn't make it too difficult to develop in the wintertime because the water just goes away real fast. It doesn't turn into mucky clay. The path to logging road was already addressed. I had it on there. We're putting one in, or at least in the proposed development next door. And in looking at the 1-year supply that you have of lots, which is actually about 10-month supply, what we've seen, in the whole metro area is there's a resurgence of demand for housing and also new housing, because throughout the recession there was a suppression of demand, and I always call it just kind of spring-loaded that demand curve, because people were moving back into with their parents. They weren't, people were not getting divorced. They were, because of economic times. And now that things are better, I mean, you see the divorce rate rising, which increases the number of households coming. You have, more people having the babies now, or in the births, and then people getting jobs and moving out. And so the household formation has increased. As well, the people going back to work now have a greater demand. So I think you're going to really see that 45 average go much higher, because we came through a long, hard 5 years in the real estate development business. And I think that, I don't think it's going to go back to 200 a year, but I think you're going to have a robust time. And that it's very important to stay ahead of that, because, economic growth is, the building industry, if anything, that's the lesson we all know from the last 5 years, right? Building really feeds the economy. Canby's always been very much on the forefront of investing in their infrastructure. You guys have a beautiful downtown. I witnessed all the downtown continue to come to be, and everything you've done over here with the railroad and all the infrastructure investments that you continue to make. It's really time to, continue to take advantage of those by adding more rooftops as the demand increases. Insofar as the roadway and the public improvement, yes, we will be extending the roadway from the north by the apartments where it's fully improved, past the Beck property. And then, of course, this does become an island. And there was a question you asked about island annexations. And it's very interesting because we work over many different jurisdictions. And often what a jurisdiction will do when an annexation application comes in, they actually invite the adjoining neighbors to join in the annexation application. Well, in Canby that hadn't worked out so well, because they've tended to be turned down the larger they are, but so we've watched this quite a bit. But I would just answer any questions, but I just encourage you to go ahead and pass it on to the voters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
No.
Good to see you, Gordon. All right. Any opponents to this annexation at all? All right. Any additional comments from the applicant at all? No? All right. I will close the public testimony. Any questions and discussion up here? Anything?
Nope. I got it.
Okay. We comfortable making a motion to approve or this time? I think so. Okay.
So it's fine, it's changing verbiage.
Do we have the verbiage?
Need the verbiage.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, sir.
I move to approve annexation/zone change file number ANN/ZC 14-01 pursuant to the above recommendation by the Planning Commission.
I'll second that. Thank you, I couldn't find the same page.
Great, now I gotta find it.
372 pages, it's hard to find.
Page 3, if you're looking for it.
Page 3, the... I'm sorry, what page do you have there on that stuff? 3.
Well, on electronic, I got because you got the agenda. Electronic, page 5.
Your sources.
Thank you, sir.
Technical
You have that
difficulties.
one?
About the killing trees.
I know,
All
go back to
right.
paper, sheesh.
Operator error, sorry, everyone. All right, motion's been made by Councilor Rocha, seconded by Councilor Hensley to approve annexation zone change file number ANN/ZC 14-01 pursuant to the above recommendations by the Planning Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That passes 6-0. All right, thank you for that one. We will now move into our second annexation this evening.
I guess I'll start in then, since you've already done the hearing.
Yes, sir.
Brian Brown, Planning Director. The Planning Commission at their June 9th and 23rd meetings.
Can I actually stop just for 2 seconds? Can you at least do the conflict and the ex parte for this particular, since it is a different land?
For this
Sure.
different property?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, so regarding the property on, and that's the one I thought